There's a power in silence that only wisdom understands. A wise woman does not argue with fools, nor does she waste energy proving her worth. Instead, she discerns, decides, and quietly cuts off what no longer serves her purpose. A wise woman understands that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every invitation deserves a response, and not every relationship is meant to last forever. Discernment is her gift, and she uses it with grace. She knows that wisdom is not just about gaining knowledge, but about applying that knowledge in ways that protect her peace, nurture her purpose, and align her with God's will. She listens more than she speaks, observing the intentions behind words and actions. She does not let flattery blind her, nor does she allow negativity to shake her faith. She has learned, often through pain, that some people are sent to distract rather than develop, to drain rather than uplift. Instead of fighting to prove herself or seeking validation from the wrong sources, she chooses to step back, pray, and move accordingly. She understands that some conversations are traps designed to pull her into unnecessary drama, so she chooses silence over proving a point. Discernment teaches her to engage when growth is possible, but to walk away when peace is threatened. She does not stay where she is merely tolerated, but seeks places where she is celebrated. She refuses to lower her standards just to make someone else comfortable. She understands that walking away is not an act of weakness, but a declaration of self-respect. She does not fear losing people who were never truly invested in her well-being. She never lets her fear. She recognizes the difference between a season and a lifetime, between an assignment and a distraction. She does not hold on to what God is trying to remove, nor does she resist when he calls her to release something or someone. She understands that sometimes love is letting go. Some people are lessons, not lifelong companions. And trying to force a connection that has run its course only brings unnecessary heartache. She chooses her battles wisely. She knows when to confront and when to let go. Not every accusation needs a defense. Not every insult needs a response. Not every argument is worth the emotional toll. She knows that sometimes the best answer is no answer at all. She refuses to let bitterness take root in her heart because she understands that resentment only harms her, not the person who caused the pain. She walks in faith, trusting that God sees what she cannot. She understands that some doors close for her protection. She does not beg to be included where she is not valued. She does not chase after people who have made it clear that they do not appreciate her presence. Instead, she trusts that every exit is leading her to something greater. She believes in divine redirection. She has learned that walking away from the wrong people makes room for the right ones. She understands that alignment with the right relationships brings peace, growth, and fulfillment. She values quality over quantity, depth over superficiality, and purpose over popularity. She does not allow loneliness to push her into the wrong company. She understands that being alone with God is far better than being surrounded by those who diminish her spirit. She sets boundaries without apology. She does not feel guilty for prioritizing her mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. She knows that saying no to others is often saying yes to herself. She protects her peace as a sacred space, refusing to let toxicity take residence in her heart and mind. She is not afraid to disappoint people if it means remaining true to herself. She operates from a place of wisdom, not impulse. She does not make emotional decisions in moments of frustration or pain. Instead, she pauses, prays, and proceeds with clarity. She does not let temporary emotions create permanent consequences. She understands that silence can be more powerful than words and that sometimes the best response is to simply move on. A wise woman does not need to announce every decision she makes. She does not make a show of cutting people off or broadcasting her boundaries. She moves in quiet confidence, knowing that her growth and peace are evidence enough. She understands that wisdom is not in making noise, but in making progress. She moves with grace, knowing that God will handle what she does not need to. She embraces the truth that discernment is a divine gift, allowing her to navigate relationships and situations with wisdom, strength, and unwavering faith. She walks away from what no longer serves her with confidence, knowing that she is walking toward something better. She does not waste her energy trying to change people who do not want to grow. Instead, she focuses on her own journey, trusting that God will bring the right people into her life in His perfect timing. A wise woman is not easily shaken. She trusts herself, her intuition, and most importantly, God's direction. She does not fear endings because she knows they often lead to new beginnings. She does not dwell on who left because she knows that anyone who walks away was not meant to stay. She does not question God's plans because she understands that His ways are higher than hers. She moves forward with peace, trusting that her wisdom will lead her exactly where she is meant to be. A wise woman understands the power of silence. She knows that not every situation requires her voice, and not every battle is won with words. The world often equates strength with speaking up, fighting back, or proving a point. But true wisdom recognizes that sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Silence is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the ability to hold back when everything in you wants to react. She has learned through experience that arguing with a fool does not lead to understanding, and trying to prove herself to those committed to misunderstanding her is a waste of energy. She no longer seeks validation in places where her worth is questioned. Instead, she remains quiet, allowing her actions, her integrity, and her character to speak louder than any words ever could. She knows that silence creates space for reflection. In moments of frustration or pain, she resists the urge to respond immediately. She takes a step back, prays, and lets time bring clarity. She understands that emotions can cloud judgment, and reacting in the heat of the moment often leads to regret. A wise woman chooses patience over impulsiveness, wisdom over reaction, and peace over drama. Silence is her shield. When faced with criticism, gossip, or betrayal, she does not waste energy defending herself to those who have already made up their minds. She knows that truth needs no explanation, and her life will reveal who she really is. She is not afraid of being misunderstood because she trusts that God will fight her battles. She understands that words can be twisted, but silence leaves no room for misinterpretation. She recognizes that silence allows her to listen more than she speaks. She listens for God's voice in the quiet, seeking His guidance before making decisions. She listens to understand rather than to respond. She listens to the intentions behind words, discerning truth from manipulation. She knows that wisdom is found in stillness, and clarity often comes in moments of quiet surrender. She chooses silence in the face of provocation. She does not engage in meaningless arguments or entertain negativity. She refuses to be drawn into cycles of toxicity, knowing that some people thrive on conflict. Instead of matching their energy, she conserves her own. She refuses to let someone else's chaos disturb her peace. Her silence is not avoidance, it is control. It is the confidence to walk away without the need to explain herself. She understands that silence is also a response. It can set boundaries without confrontation. It can communicate strength without aggression. It can show disapproval without unnecessary conflict. She uses silence as a tool, not as a sign of defeat. She knows that sometimes the best way to let someone know they no longer have power over her is simply to stop engaging. Silence teaches her patience. She does not rush to conclusions or force things to happen in her timing. She waits on God, knowing that what is meant for her will come in due time. She understands that growth often happens in the quiet seasons, when God is working behind the scenes, preparing her for what's next. A wise woman knows when to speak and when to stay silent. She does not need to prove herself to those who do not see her value. She does not waste words trying to convince people of her worth. She does not fight for a place where she is not welcomed. Instead, she holds her peace, trusting that the right doors will open without her having to push them. Her silence is not emptiness. It is full of wisdom, strength, and purpose. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who she is and whose she is. It is the assurance that she does not have to fight every battle with words. Some victories are won in the stillness. A wise woman embraces the power of silence, understanding that sometimes saying nothing at all speaks volumes. A wise woman understands that love and boundaries are not opposites. They go hand in hand. God calls us to love, but he also calls us to guard our hearts. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about protecting the peace, purpose, and spiritual well-being that God has placed within us. A woman of wisdom knows that without boundaries, love can turn into exhaustion, kindness can be mistaken for weakness, and relationships can become burdens rather than blessings. The Bible is full of examples of boundaries. Even Jesus set them. He loved everyone, but he did not entrust himself to everyone. He withdrew to pray, walked away from those who rejected him, and did not force himself into spaces where he was not welcomed. A wise woman follows this example. She loves freely, but she does not allow herself to be used. She forgives, but she does not tolerate repeated disrespect. She serves, but she does not pour from an empty cup. Boundaries are an act of wisdom, not selfishness. They allow her to love from a place of strength rather than resentment. She understands that saying no does not mean she is unkind. It means she values what God has given her. She does not allow guilt to manipulate her into overextending herself. She recognizes that when she stretches herself too thin for others, she risks losing herself in the process. She knows that true love respects boundaries, while manipulation resents them. She guards her heart because she knows that everything she does flows from it. She does not allow toxic relationships to take root in her life. She does not entertain people who drain her joy, diminish her worth, or disrupt her peace. She knows that love does not mean enduring mistreatment. God calls us to be patient and kind, but he never asks us to stay in places that destroy us. She trusts that walking away from unhealthy relationships is sometimes the most loving thing she can do for herself and for the other person. A wise woman understands that boundaries teach people how to treat her. She does not have to demand respect. She simply refuses to engage where it is not given. She does not beg for love. She allows the right people to enter her life while keeping the wrong ones at a distance. She does not chase after those who walk away. She trusts that God removes people for a reason. She sets boundaries with her time, knowing that constant busyness is not a badge of honor. She prioritizes rest, recognizing that even God himself rested. She does not allow obligations to rob her of her joy or pull her away from what truly matters. She gives herself permission to step back, recharge, and seek God's presence without guilt. She sets emotional boundaries, understanding that not everyone deserves access to her innermost thoughts and feelings. She discerns who is trustworthy and who simply wants to take advantage of her openness. She does not share her dreams with those who will only discourage her. She does not confide in those who have proven they cannot be trusted. She knows that wisdom is knowing who to let in and who to keep at a safe distance. She sets spiritual boundaries, refusing to compromise her faith to fit in. She does not allow the opinions of others to weaken her convictions. She does not entertain negativity that pulls her away from God's purpose for her life. She stands firm in her values, even when it means standing alone. She knows that it is better to walk with God in solitude than to walk with the world in compromise. A wise woman understands that boundaries are not walls, they are gates. They do not shut people out permanently. They allow her to choose who and what comes in. She loves from a place of wisdom, not obligation. She gives freely, but she also receives. She pours into others, but she also allows herself to be poured into. She recognizes that love without limits leads to depletion, but love with boundaries leads to abundance. She guards her heart not because she is afraid, but because she knows its value. She protects her time, her emotions, and her spirit because she understands that she is a daughter of the King. She walks in confidence, knowing that setting boundaries is not about being cold-hearted, it's about being wise. And in that wisdom, she finds the strength to love, to give, and to grow in a way that honors both herself and God. A wise woman understands that the people she allows into her life have the power to influence her peace, her purpose, and her walk with God. She knows that not everyone deserves a seat at her table. Some people come to feed her soul, while others come only to take. Some pour into her, while others drain her dry. She discerns the difference and makes adjustments accordingly. She has learned, sometimes the hard way, that loyalty to the wrong people can cost her everything: her joy, her peace, her sense of direction. She no longer holds on to relationships out of guilt or obligation. She refuses to carry the weight of people who consistently take but never give. She understands that love does not mean keeping everyone close. Sometimes love means letting go. She knows that some people enter her life with hidden agendas. They are there for the benefits, not the relationship. They smile in her face, but carry jealousy in their hearts. They celebrate her success on the surface, but secretly hope for her downfall. A wise woman discerns these connections and releases them without bitterness. She does not waste time explaining herself to those committed to misunderstanding her. She does not chase after people who have made it clear they do not value her presence. She understands that just because someone has been in her life for a long time does not mean they deserve a lifelong seat. Some people were only meant to be in her life for a season, and keeping them beyond their expiration date can hinder her growth. She no longer clings to what God is trying to remove. She does not allow nostalgia to keep her tied to unhealthy relationships. She moves forward, trusting that the right people will align with her journey in God's perfect timing. She sets standards for who gets access to her heart, her energy, and her time. She does not apologize for expecting reciprocity in relationships. She is willing to love from a distance when necessary. She does not keep people around just to avoid loneliness. She understands that being alone in peace is far better than being surrounded by the wrong company. She recognizes that her table is sacred. It is a place of peace, encouragement, and spiritual nourishment. She invites those who bring positivity, wisdom, and genuine love. She cherishes those who correct her with kindness, uplift her in faith, and challenge her to be better. She values quality over quantity, choosing depth over superficial connections. She is not afraid to lose people who were never truly for her. She does not take rejection personally because she understands that God sometimes removes people to protect her. She does not force anyone to stay in her life. If they want to leave, she lets them go with grace. She knows that pruning is necessary for growth, and losing the wrong people makes space for the right ones. She guards her heart without building walls. She remains open to love, friendship, and community, but she is intentional about who she allows close. She does not settle for one-sided relationships. She refuses to entertain people who only show up when they need something. She does not waste her energy proving her worth to those who fail to see it. A wise woman builds a table that reflects her values. She does not beg for a seat at someone else's table. She creates her own. Surrounded by those who truly belong. She trusts that God will send the right people into her life at the right time. Until then, she keeps her table sacred, her boundaries firm, and her spirit at peace. A wise woman understands that peace is a choice. She knows that while she cannot control the actions of others, she can control how she responds. She has lived long enough to know that engaging in drama, gossip, and unnecessary conflict only drains her spirit and distracts her from her purpose. Instead of getting caught in toxic cycles, she prioritizes peace. Peace in her mind, peace in her heart, and peace in her surroundings. She no longer entertains arguments that lead nowhere. She refuses to prove herself to people who are determined to misunderstand her. She does not chase closure where there is none to be found. She understands that some battles are best left unfought. Some doors are best left closed, and some relationships are best left in the past. She recognizes that toxic cycles often repeat themselves. The same arguments, the same betrayals, the same disappointments. She used to believe that if she just tried harder, forgave more, or explained herself better, things would change. But wisdom has taught her that peace is not found in fixing what refuses to be fixed. It is found in letting go. She no longer reacts to everything that provokes her. She understands that not every comment deserves a response, not every insult requires a defense, and not every situation demands her energy. She has learned the difference between being strong and being drained. True strength is not in always fighting back, but in knowing when to walk away. She guards her peace as a sacred gift. She does not allow toxic people to pull her into their chaos. She refuses to be a dumping ground for negativity. She sets boundaries with those who thrive on gossip, manipulation, and unnecessary conflict. She has no interest in being part of a cycle that does nothing but steal her joy. She understands that peace does not mean avoiding all conflict. It means choosing battles wisely. She speaks up when necessary, but she does so with wisdom and grace. She knows when to confront and when to be silent. She refuses to let pride push her into arguments that do more harm than good. She values her energy too much to waste it on proving points that do not matter. She trusts God to handle what she cannot. She no longer feels the need to control everything or force situations to work out in her favor. She understands that God fights for her, and because of that, she does not have to fight every battle alone. She finds peace in surrender, knowing that what is meant for her will come, and what is not will leave. She seeks relationships that bring peace, not drama. She surrounds herself with people who uplift her, not those who constantly stir up conflict. She values friendships and connections that are built on trust, kindness, and mutual respect. She is not afraid to distance herself from those who thrive on tension and negativity. She has learned that walking away from drama does not make her weak, it makes her wise. She does not allow toxic cycles to define her, distract her, or disturb her spirit. She moves forward with grace, embracing a life of peace, purpose, and unwavering faith. A wise woman understands that growth is not just about gaining, it's also about releasing. She knows that in order to step into the fullness of what God has for her, she must be willing to let go of what no longer serves her. Spiritual maturity requires pruning, and sometimes that means walking away from unhealthy relationships, toxic connections, and anything that hinders her purpose. She has learned that holding on too tightly to the wrong people can stunt her spiritual, emotional, and personal growth. She used to believe that loyalty meant staying, even when it hurt. But wisdom has taught her that true loyalty should never come at the expense of her well-being. She no longer stays in relationships out of guilt, fear, or habit. Instead, she asks herself, is this relationship drawing me closer to God or pulling me away? Does it bring peace or constant turmoil? Is it rooted in love or control? She recognizes that not everyone is meant to go with her into the next season of life. Some people were only meant to be part of her journey for a time. Just as a tree must shed old leaves to make room for new growth, she must be willing to release relationships that no longer align with her calling. She does not allow nostalgia to keep her in places God has told her to leave. She understands that pruning is not punishment, it is preparation. When God removes someone from her life, it is never without purpose. Sometimes he closes a door because he knows what is behind it is not meant for her. Other times, he allows a separation to strengthen her dependence on him. Either way, she trusts that when she lets go of the wrong people, she makes space for the right ones. She no longer forces relationships that feel heavy and one-sided. She does not beg for effort, reciprocity, or respect. She does not try to fix people who have no desire to change. She loves them, prays for them, and releases them into God's hands. She understands that letting go does not mean she stops caring. It means she stops carrying what is not hers to hold. She also learns to let go of the version of herself that tolerated less than she deserved. She no longer shrinks herself to fit into spaces that were never meant for her. She stops seeking approval from those who never truly saw her worth. She embraces growth, even when it feels uncomfortable, trusting that every step of obedience leads her closer to God's plan. Letting go is not always easy, but she knows it is necessary. She does not dwell on what could have been or cling to what used to be. She looks ahead with faith, knowing that God's best is never found in what he asked her to leave behind. She moves forward with grace, choosing growth over stagnation, peace over familiarity, and purpose over people-pleasing. A wise woman does not fear letting go. She embraces it as a sign of her spiritual maturity. She trusts that with every release, she is making room for God's blessings, divine connections, and a life aligned with his perfect will.